into that. So what happens if you buy a home and you don't have anything structured in place, heaven forbid something happened to you? What happens to your home?
Well, I mean, in theory, if there's a mortgage, let's say, I mean, you mean with the bank, is that kind of the question? Or if you don't have a bank, if you don't have a mortgage, like
Well,
if
I guess it can go either way. So if
let's
you,
say, yeah, let's say you don't have a mortgage, you own the house free and clear, and husband and wife tend to own everything jointly. So if it's a married situation, they own it jointly, it's just going to the other spouse, right? And if they don't have a will, but if it's not joint, or if we don't have a surviving spouse, then it ends up in what's called your estate. And if you haven't done any planning, then the state has sort of this decision tree for who gets an inheritance. I actually had a client call today where the family had some net worth. I think they did own the house jointly, but they own a small company that was only in the gentleman's name. And he said, well, I don't really need to do anything because if I pass away, she just gets it. That's not what the state's rule book says. The state's rule book says she gets the first $30,000, and then she's splitting the rest with his kids. And his eyes got like this big, and he's like, well, my one kid's a knucklehead. That doesn't make any sense. I said, well, that's why we do estate planning, because people tend to make assumptions about how things are going to work. But with the house ends up in the estate. If you haven't done a will, if you haven't done a will, the state has a rule book that says who gets the stuff, and at what age they get the stuff, and all the rest. And there could be arguments about who gets to make the decisions, who's going to be the personal representative or whatever. So the will is really a document all these estate planning documents are just to govern control and access. Okay, so if I pass away, who's making the decisions, who gets the stuff, and is the equal shares of the kids what age? I don't want them to get it at 18 or 21. I prefer that somebody with some common sense that has the pen to the checkbook until their 30th birthday, or so you do a will to answer all of those other questions. Now, if there's a mortgage and we now have a creditor, we owe somebody, they can call the loan. Now, if the house just goes to the other spouse, the spouse is allowed to just sort of carry that mortgage, right? So that they're not going to exercise a due on sale clause there. But, if stuff is going to the kids, if we've lost both spouses or whatever, there's a valid debt against that house. A lot of the time, the executor, the personal representative is going to have to sell that house before we're making distributions. So just cover the mortgage. So.
Right.